What's up, YouTube? Mr. Llama SC here. Diablo 4 update part 2 has been released. We are going to go ahead and read through it. I have not read through this yet. Once again, same with part 1. I had not read through it prior, so this will be a live first-time reading, first-time reaction, everything to it. And yeah, so let's jump into it. Let's see what they got for us. I hear it's got some cool stuff. That's all I'm going to say. I hear it's got some cool stuff. So, System Design in Diablo 4 Part Dos by Mr. David Kim. This was released today, 12/3/2019. In Part 1, we addressed many of the open questions from the community about the Diablo 4 game designs we revealed at BlizzCon. I recommend checking that out if you haven't already. We did. I have a video on it as well. I will link it below. Itemization is a huge core part of any action RPG. Agreed. We're focusing specifically on itemization in this blog because it's a complex and nuanced topic. Ooh, specifically on itemization. So this is all itemization. Okay, cool. Let's start with 2 key principles that guide us as the Diablo 4 development team. First, we agree that adding depth and customization to your character through itemization is incredibly valuable and important to the game. This has been the most discussed topic since we revealed Diablo 4. To be clear, we believe Diablo 4 itemization should be deep and rewarding, and that's one of our highest priorities. Another important philosophy across the whole game for our team is the concept easy to learn, difficult to master. This core philosophy has helped many of us become the hardcore gamers we are today, and one we want to embrace throughout the Diablo 4 development process. I don't know if I have anything to say on all of this yet. Those seem like totally fine principles. It's how you put them into place. Because you could say Diablo 3 itemization was very, deep and required for the gameplay. But, it also was lacking in a lot of other ways. So, depends how you really look at it. Second, we agree that the feedback that Diablo 4 shouldn't just mimic the itemization in our previous Diablo games. Our plan is to take the best parts of previous games and improve upon them while introducing new elements to make Diablo 4 unique. I think that's smart, right? Everybody always blasts me for saying, you just want Diablo 2 items, you don't want anything else. And it's like, no. I use Diablo 2 itemization as a way to say, this was a fantastic itemization system within a game. Here is why. Steal parts of this, steal the idea of it, but make it unique and make it something of your own. I want Diablo 4 to be new. We don't want to create an exact copy of Diablo 2 or Diablo 3, right? It's worth calling out that on this subject, there was a lot of mixed feedback and differing opinions, and we acknowledge that means there's no single approach that everyone in the community will agree on. That's right. That's very true. We'll never have any agreement from everybody with anything in the community. That said, thanks to your feedback, we have some potential changes we're actively discussing internally regarding itemization that we'd like to share with you today. Thanks to your feedback. Woo! Go us. Good job, everybody. Keep it up. Again, we feel it's important to stress that this is very early design. That's fair. And we're sharing this with the community far sooner than we ever have before. Thank you. There will be problems with these ideas we'll have to iterate through, and what's presented below is almost certainly not final. The reason we're sharing this is so early is because we want to involve the community in our process and learn as much as we can from your feedback as soon as possible. Let's go to it. Get to it. Poor reading comprehension. Affixes in Diablo 4. We went through so much great community discussion, including a fair amount of conflicting feedback, and we've had dozens of hours of discussion on this topic. We were left with 2 major takeaways. Not now, Windows 10. See fewer notifications. First, item affixes should be a meaningful part of character power. Yeah, okay. Second, they should create interesting choices when deciding which items to equip. Yes, that is the more important thing. Power, somewhat. Interesting choices, very much. Our previous focus was on making each affix geared towards specific builds, so that the perfect item would vary depending on the build you were pursuing. We still like this overall direction, but we understand it can also feel like your choices are limited because you end up chasing a list of best-in-slot items. Yeah, I agree with that. Here are changes we're considering. We're increasing the total number of affixes on items, including magic, rare, and legendary. This should raise the overall importance of non-legendary affixes on your character's overall level of power. Increasing the total number of affixes on items, magic, rare, and legendary. This should raise the overall. Got it. So they're saying before, if there was only 2 affixes per item, the legendary power was too dominating. But now if there's 6 affixes on the items, the legendary power has less meaning overall. Okay. We're also introducing 3 new stats. Angelic power, which increases the duration of all beneficial effects, like self-buffs or healing. Demonic power, which increases the duration of all negative effects, like debuffs or damage over time. And ancestral power, which increases the chance of on-hit effects, aka increased proc chance. These new stats can appear as affixes such as plus 15 angelic power. In addition to providing the above stated benefit, we want these new stats to also act as prerequisites for empowering certain other affixes. If you don't have enough of a specific power, you can still equip the item, but you may not benefit from an affix linked to that power. That's kind of interesting. Here are a couple of work-in-progress examples to better illustrate what these affixes do. Again, none of this is final and could change considerably. Plus 15 angelic power. Okay, so swift fur-lined boots of speed. Rare boots, 1448 defense, 15 angelic power, 3% move speed, plus 1 rank to devastation, but that requires 50 demonic power, 25 cold resist, requires 40 angelic power. So they're really, oh man, that's super interesting. So they're really making it where like you're building your whole character. I mean, this is interesting. I don't hate this. I'll tell you guys why in a second. Let's continue with a little bit more. Fiery Amulet of Malice, 15% critical strike damage. We got to be careful with the crit. It's another discussion. Plus 2 ranks to Char to Ash, requires 60 demonic power. 25% fire resist, requires 55 demonic power. 10% crushing blow chance, requires 55 ancestral power. Each of the 3 powers will have a list of affixes that are attuned to it, so depending on which stats you care about, you might want to focus on angelic, demonic, or ancestral power. In the examples above, you would need 50 demonic power to get an additional rank in the devastation skill, 55 demonic power for 25% fire resist, or 60 demonic power for 2 additional ranks in Char to Ash skill. If you wanted to build around crushing blow, you need to stack at least 55 ancestral power instead, while 40 angelic power would be required to gain 25% cold resistance. We think these changes will address those 2 main takeaways pretty well. Legendary powers should no longer completely dwarf the strength of your affixes, and the affixes themselves provide more interesting choices because their strength depends on how much of the relevant powers you've accumulated on the rest of your gear. You might find an amulet with the perfect stats for your build, but some of its affixes may require demonic power when you've previously focused on ancestral. Maybe your current amulet is the primary source of your ancestral power, so equipping a new amulet would mean potentially making sacrifices elsewhere. With this system, it would be easy to identify items with good stats, but it will take some thought and planning to decide what the item is good for your build. The best items for your characters will really depend on what you currently have and how you've built that character, making it more difficult to just look up the right answer online. At the same time, we think this system keeps items approachable, even if you make suboptimal itemization decisions. You may be weaker, but doing so won't completely break your character. We also introduce this mechanic gradually and naturally as you level, rather than making it a requirement to understand at the beginning. I'm going to tell you why I love this right now. And I'm sure there's negative opinions on it, and it's a little limiting and whatever it is. But this is like the new strength dexterity requirement. Okay? This is why I love it. Also, look, there's not a defense stat on the amulet, by the way. What up? This is the new strength dexterity requirement. There needs to be, and level requirement as well, that exists on these items, right? Because let's just, once again, I will always take it back to Diablo 2 because I think that is one of my favorite itemization systems, and where I think you can draw a lot of good correlations. And this is a fantastic twist on it, right? In Diablo 2, you have strength requirements, you have dexterity requirements. If you want to use those awesome boots, I'm a sorceress and I want to use this sick maul. Guess what? That maul has 230 strength requirements. Can I build a sorceress to use it? I can. I can maybe shove some hell runes in it to bring the requirements down. I can stack my character with strength and make sacrifices. I can wear gear that boost up my strength and make sacrifices. Everything like that. But it's possible to get it and to wield that maul and create some weird build that's actually going to be using it and having fun with it. But generally, I'm not going to be able to use it because there's requirements to get to it, right? I don't think everything should just be free to wear for anybody, whatever you want. Now, this is really interesting because this is taking that and changing the idea and saying, okay, you know what? We're going to let you use that maul at whatever level you want or whatever, time you want. But if you're using that maul, you're not going to get to use 4 of the affixes or 3 of the affixes unless you're stacking specific, whatever they're called, angelic, demonic, or ancestral power, strength, dexterity, whatever you want to call them, in a way to fully utilize everything within that maul. Or you can use it for just the parts that you want to, right? I don't really care about 25% fire res. My character's already maxed in fire res. I don't care about that. Oh, well, these are both demonic power. Let's just go here, right? I don't care about 25% cold res, but +1 to devastation would be super sick for my build. So I'm just going to say screw angelic power and just stack up my demonic power and use devastation. Right? And so I'm like deciding how much I want to use of an item almost. I think this is a super unique and interesting takeaway. I love it. I absolutely love it. The item gives angelic power. Yeah, but it requires 40. It gives 15. Maybe I just say, forget it. I only need 15 for my build on this ring, and that'll satisfy that need. And then I get 50 from, my armor gives 50 to demonic power. And so I'm going to run this and I'm going to run this and I'm going to get massive demonic power stuff. That's sick. This is a beautiful way that they've introduced stats and affixes into items. I really love this. I am extremely impressed so far. And I think this is a fabulous way to introduce it. Because I really, that was something that, I just don't like when an item is just like, oh, you just kind of wear whatever item. If you don't have to make sacrifices for something, if you don't have to make decisions, that's the stuff where it sucks, right? When you can just have any option, people are like, oh, it's limiting. Things have to be limiting. If you can do anything and use anything and do whatever, it's boring. It sucks. You're too good. You need to not be too good, and this makes you not be too good. It's the item juggle that is, in my opinion, extremely important. You see it in every great ARPG. There's a good item juggle, right? Even PoE, you're juggling like, oh, where am I gonna, in current version, like, oh, this is my 6 socket, that's my 4 socket, this has these colors, that you're constantly juggling things around. You have stats over in that game as well that are required for using items. Item juggle is super necessary, and I think this is a fabulous way to do it. Going up to the increasing the number of affixes, I think that's good. I still think they need to be sure that they identify a strength and a weakness for every kind of item. Right? And God, I really hope that I saved that. Somebody sent it to me again, and I'm still not sure I saved the thing. There is just the, I've made that one graph before of Diablo 2 items, and it perfectly explains what I love about each item. I think it's somewhere in here. Let me go here. Is it plus? No. That? No. No. All right. Whatever it is. Basically, in Diablo 2, every item has a positive and every item has a negative. Okay? And that's the beauty of it. Blue items can get the highest affix rolls, but they can only get up to 2. Rare items can get up to 6 affix rolls, but they can't roll quite as high. Unique items can get mods or affixes that don't exist on like rares or magic items, right? They can be unique to that, like faster unwalk on an amulet. That can't happen anywhere else except on a unique amulet. But they don't have affixes that roll from the regular affix pool, right? When you do that sort of stuff, every item has its weakness. So I really hope that, that is something that they really consider, is like, what's the best thing about a blue item that nothing else has? What's the best thing about a rare item nothing else has? What's the best thing about a legendary item nothing else has? Anyways, we will keep reading. I'm sure there's going to be more stuff, maybe stuff that, talks against what I just said, but like, I really hope that is something in the future. That is a big feedback I still give. So far, I'm extremely happy with this. Attack defense changes. Based on your feedback, we've changed attack to be only found on weapons and defense to be only on armor. And we removed attack and defense from jewelry entirely. Praise the Lord. Thank God. God. Oh, man. Can we just clap? Okay, I'm happy that. All right, good. We like the attack and defense stats as a way to convey power progression on items. A core part of any ARPG is the quest for more power. We just as we have skill ranks, talent trees, character levels, and so forth. Attack and defense allows us to reflect your power growth in items as well. Yes. To be clear, attack/defense is not the end of the story of an item's power, but it does fulfill the easy-to-learn, difficult-to-master design philosophy by giving players a broad sense of whether the item is an upgrade. Players who are optimizing their character will still need to take the additional affixes of an item into account, as their benefit to your build can outweigh the raw attack or defense of an item. Solely picking up your items based on attack and defense will almost never be optimum way to play, but it does provide a good starting point for newer players. I'm guessing this means we will still have green arrow good, red arrow bad. But once again, the more affixes and the more things that you can add to an item to complicate it, the less important green arrow, red arrow becomes. And that's what was really not being seen in the early start of it, right? Is at the beginning it was like, yeah, green arrow better, and there's not any interesting affix that could make it worse, basically. So green arrow is always better, kind of. It's important to reiterate that items are just one part of a character's overall power. Good, because in D3 they were way too much of it. Our goal is to spread out power across different sources, including skill ranks, your character level, talent trees, items, and the endgame character progression system, which, like everything else, is still in development. Cool. Ancient Legendary Replacement. Hallelujah. In our last post, we mentioned we were looking at some potential changes to ancient items based on your feedback. We are going to remove ancient legendaries from the game. Yay! We did it. Holy. This is like, I feel like this is the best update I've ever read in my life. Oh my God. Our newest proposal hits a couple different feedback points, addressing the usefulness of rare yellow items as well as increasing the depth and complexity of player gear choices in the endgame. We'll be introducing a new type of consumable item, interesting, which we haven't yet named. This item would be earned by killing monsters just like other items. It would have one random legendary affix on it, drops only in late endgame, and can be used to apply that affix to any non-legendary item. Huh. This means a few things. We create an elective mode for items that is experienced after players have had time to experience rare and legendary items normally, as well as familiarize themselves with a variety of affixes. Adds a way to introduce new methods of play without adding even more power to endgame items. And rare items with the best affixes on them are always useful and retain value. You know, like, it's not the way I would have done it, but like, I'm cool with it. It's closest to crafting, and it allows you to pick up a super dope rare and then craft it into some unique legendary item that is going to be, you know, kind of that like super rare best in slot item. That's dope. Well, it's random, but like, you know what it is, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it randomly puts it on it, right? Like, it's just going to be... Otherwise, that would kind of suck if you don't know what you're slotting onto it. Unless you can overwrite it constantly, and then, you know, it could be better. If you can overwrite it constantly with randoms, then it's cool. If it's like a one-time random, maybe. It could still be fun. You know, you'd get some really fun bricks on items. Dope. All right. Once again, that's an interesting take on it, but I'm enjoying it. More feedback. We want to remind you when it's time for good measure that none of this is final. Keep this, please. We haven't even tried most of it in a working build yet. I don't care. We'd love to get some constructive feedback on these approaches as well as general direction we're headed for itemization. We've never shared this level of detail early before, but we look forward to reading what you have to say. Thanks, David Kim, lead system designer. See you in hell. Wow. Bruh, this is literally the greatest update that I have ever read, ever. Everything about this is good. Everything about this is good. Like, this is one, they showed they listened. And two, they showed they actually went back and were humble enough to make the changes, including things like just scrapping Ancients legendaries completely. I mean, that's sick. That's so sick. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, man. Okay. So yeah. So the biggest thing, my biggest feedback, if I have to go into like feedback mode right now, feedback mode on it. I still think there should be something a little bit more with like have a strength and a weakness. The consumables is really interesting, and maybe that's even a way to make it more so in a way. Right, so like there's a consumable, and if you craft the consumable onto a magic item, let's say that it can roll like, God, I'm trying to think of something, plus 2 additional projectiles for your fireball. Okay, when you craft it on a rare item, but if you craft it on a magic item, it can roll plus 3 additional fireballs. Right. All of a sudden, you have a decision to make. You go, is it worth it to have more affixes on the rare and craft it on that? Or is it worth it to craft it onto the magic item for the additional shot? It's going to lower the chance or lower the number of affixes that I have on this magic item, but it would increase the value. You know, like it gives you that if you really want to do some weird build where you focus on getting the most shots or something or whatever it is. I think that would be dope. So it's like the consumable is like plus, 1 on a legendary, plus 2 on a rare, plus 3 on a magic. Right? And you say like the blue item would have to be that much better of a base item, but like it just gives you this small chance of it, right? It's like in Diablo 2 when you get the javelins and they're plus 6 40s, right? 6 to jav and spear with the 40 to IAS. And it's like super sick. You can't roll it anywhere else. except on the blues. You're giving up the other affixes, but you can like focus in on that. If you go, having that additional one is worth more than having a couple other affixes. I think that would be a fantastic way to apply this across. I think if you did that and just made the consumables able to roll onto a blue as well, but better onto a blue, it suddenly opens up even more of that ability to, master the game, right? To be a little bit more into it. So I think that would be a great way to change that. That's my like feedback on that. Like I said, I love the angelic, demonic, ancestral powers. It's a way that you brought stats into the game without it being just boring strength, dexterity, whatever. Because that is a downfall of Diablo 2, right? Strength and dexterity and vitality and energy are kind of boring, unfortunately. You know? They just kind of exist. You have to have them. As much strength as you need to wear your item, whatever it is. And because it exists so much in you get stats as you level, blah, blah, blah. You just shove it in vitality, whatever. This acts like that in a way, but it's like a new way, and you're changing where it exists, and it's more existing on the items. And maybe there are ways that as your character, you can adjust, your character build to gain more demonic power or something so that you can wear more of that. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Removing attack defense on the dumb stuff is perfect. Maybe saying the dumb stuff is mean, but I don't want my ring to be my giant source of attack power, for my sword. Let it be my sword, right? And obviously having minor things that can buff across is helpful and good. So, okay, my boots have, increased increased fire damage, and my sword does fire damage, so that's good. Or, having little things like that. But just the raw attack defense was so boring for, every item attack defense. So beautiful, because once again, jewelry is not about having giant attack defense. Now it's more about the affixes and making those decisions. And then, oh man, yeah, I love it. Absolutely everything about this. I tip my fedora to cringy. Tip my cap to the D4 devs. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that you continue with this going forward. If every update is like this, in all of the different areas of how we're going to do endgame content, how we're going to deal with power creep, how we're going to do all of that. If you guys want to go through, we can go through every single bit, because this is beautiful. This is perfect and beautiful. You guys have addressed the biggest concern of this game, which was itemization. And I am very happy with all of this stuff here. So my biggest look at this point with itemization, besides what I've just shared about affixes and stuff, my biggest look forward is going to be making sure that there's not everything just before max level is useless, right? I think that's an important thing as well, especially if if you guys are listening to the feedback of everybody wants to, not just get to end game or get to max level really quickly and then play the game. People want that grind experience to get to that, to be a thing. Make items found along the way be useful, because I think that's super cool and a super fun part of the game, right? When I'm playing, and once again, Diablo 2, if I'm running around and I find an item really early on, it can be useful later. When I'm playing PoE and I find a tabula rasa really early and I'm oh, snap. And then I'm sacrificing some stuff, but I got my 6th link for a while until I finally eventually shift out of it later, right? Diablo 2, I can find Blood Fist early or Goblin Toes or something. And it's well, Goblin Toes don't really have anything going for them, except they have the highest % of crushing blow in the game on a boot. I could wear Gore Riders and get a lot better other stats and all of this stuff late game, and a lot of people will. But like if I'm just trying to max that out, I can find like a best in slot, very specific item in that early kind of stage. And so I think that's the only thing that I would definitely say is I really don't want to be in a position of like, oh, I've leveled up a couple levels, and so now all the gear I've found previously is irrelevant. I think there's definitely that, progression where stuff over time and it is getting better. But, there's some really cool rare rings and things like that. I mean, there's that rare ring that I just found the other day. Oh my God. I want to show this because this is such a cool ring. Where did I put it? Is it in my downloads, pictures? I think I called it ring. There it is. I'm going to show you guys this ring that I found the other day. This is a level 26 ring. Now, obviously, it's eye level 86. I found it in an endgame content. But this ring is level 26 required. And this is totally a ring that I would wear on my level 98 sorceress. I have a better one just because it has more MF. But, like, this is a beautiful ring I found yesterday. A beautiful ring, level 26 required. I can find it early in the game. The chances to find it are very low to get those kinds of rolls and things. But it's possible. So, that sort of stuff, like, I like having the possibility of finding that item, even if it's insanely rare, finding something like that. But then, like, as the mods of it would go up, right? Like, if I want to find a level 26 ring, there are better mods later for higher level required, right? But, I think this is a great example of, like, super sick items. Additionally, it's level 26 required, which means low-level dueling. So people can actually low-level duel with it. And that's super fun. And it's a ring that I can find at an endgame area and still be really excited about, and then give that to a low-level character and use like a low-level duel character with that ring, right? When you make items so much better in that long span of things, that's where I think things really get difficult, right? If an item at level 40 is always going to be 15, 20 times better than an item at level 20, then nothing on the way up matters that much. And then also anything I find that's low level isn't going to matter that much, right? You're like only focusing end game at that point. I think focusing on everything along the way like this is one of the best things to be done. So that's pretty much it. That's my feedback on that. I love it. This is a fantastic job, and I am so excited. Like, is the beta out yet? What's up? When can I start playing? Man, I am crazy excited for whatever comes next. So please keep us updated. Thank you.